Hi everybody, it's Russ from My Hammers 11. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and obviously hitting the bell notification so you're notified as soon as we put new content on. Lots of great guests lined up, loads of guests lined up, including today's guest, who is officially our second international hammer we've interviewed, our first European hammer we've interviewed as well. You'll hopefully recognise him. He was the leader of the Scandinavian Hammers for over 20 years. Wow, until 2014, and obviously that involves doing all the organising of all the trips over to watch the club live, writing all the articles, interviewing the players for the supporters magazines, and an all-round lovely guy. As I've sort of managed to speak to him for the last few weeks. It's Gjermund Holt. Hi, Gjermund. How are you?
Very good, thank you. I'm really looking forward to this. It's always good to talk about West Ham, and when you can pick your 11 as well, it's yes, I'm looking forward to this. Good to be on.
And you'll see Gjermund's sort of man cave there, West Ham man cave. He's got the bar. He's got loads of memorabilia of West Ham, signed flags and things like that, which I'm sure he'll be showing. Lots of memorabilia, so it's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to this. So what we do for everyone, obviously, we find out they're 11, but also we talk about their memories. You know, there's no football at the moment, so we haven't got any opportunity to make new memories. But in terms of the old days and stuff, so. And if I'm right, I mean, you were supporting West Ham from sort of the early to mid 70s. You know, so what was your sort of earliest memory of West Ham?
We in Norway we've had like match of the day. It's been shown live on television every Saturday at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock Norwegian time since 1969. I was 3 years old, and we all had to pick our team. I've been asked a million times about how I started to support West Ham. I don't know really how it started, but I know that my first shirt was too small for my kid when he was 5-6 years old, and I know I was. I put everything to the side to watch West Ham win the FA Cup '75. I was 8 years old, and so since before then I've been a hammer, and it's been more and more ever since. Yeah,
exactly. And as you said, I love. Go on, you go ahead.
All the other guys, it was in that time Leeds, Derby, Man United, Liverpool. All the other guys support them, and I was a bit alone, but I found a good few friends later. Thank God for that.
Exactly, and as part of the Scandinavian Hammers, there's over 800 of you, isn't there, as a group? If I'm right.
Yeah, the Scandinavian Hammers was founded in 1988. I was leader of the supporters club from '92. We were close to 1,000 members. We're a little bit fewer now, but still more than 800 members, and. It's been really great times. We got to know people from all over the country. You know, Norway's a special country. If you go from Oslo to the northern part of Norway, if you go the other south instead, you're south of Rome. So it's long between where we live, and but we meet in London. We meet in East London, and it's been good. I've been arranging supporters club trips with 3, 4, 5 trips a year, and with all from 20 to 80 people all the time. So it's been really good times.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the fact that you don't know how you started supporting West Ham, but you sort of you are, and that's it. And you're sort of stuck with your club, and it's fantastic. Now, obviously, lots of experiences, lots of times coming over and seeing some fantastic games and memories. What were your sort of fondest memories in your mind, Gjermund, in terms of sort of West Ham?
Oh, there's so many. I've had a season ticket since 2000. But of course I'm not able to travel all the time. But so many good memories. I think some of the away games. I flew to Bucharest in 1999 alone from Norway. Didn't know anyone who was going, but I had the 3 greatest days of my life in the Bucharest pubs. We lost, but it was such a good time.
Yeah.
The first supporters club trip I arranged was actually when we beat Tottenham 4-1 away. I think that was Easter '92, something like that. And it's games like that, and of course the cup final, the 2 playoff finals when we went up. Yeah. It's been such good times. I think if I had to pick one, when we beat Blackpool at Wembley, It was one of the first times with my son as well, who's now even more West Ham fan than I am, which is good for me. So yeah, but there's so many games.
And at least you have a travelling partner now. Now your son's a fanatic at West Ham, and obviously he trained at West Ham for a couple of weeks, didn't he? If I remember you mentioning.
Yeah, he's a kid footballer. He goes at a football gymnasium he's 18 now, and he's doing quite well. And I got to know Jack Collison through my supporters club, and I asked him if he could come over and train, and I know he could do quite well. And he went over 1 week, and Jack said he's good enough. He can come back whenever he likes to train, and he's been there 2 times, and he really enjoyed it. And of course, for him to be a West Ham fan to train there, Mark Noble came to see one of the trainings, and he knows Jack Collison. One of his first shirts was number 10 Jack Collison, so we brought that to show to Jack when he trained. It was fantastic.
Lovely. And it's stuff like that, and it's those type of memories which are so nice to hear. Those sort of those individual memories, like you said, the Bucharest trip. You didn't know no one. You turned up. You flew away from Norway on your own, and then you're in a pub and you lost the game, but it was just that sort of feeling of togetherness and community. And as I said,
when I travel alone there, I made so many friends that I met many times later. And I was sitting in a pub. I remember it was a Dubliner pub. We were quite a few West Ham supporters, and I was sitting at a table drinking for about an hour until I realized that one on the other side was Joe Cole's dad, George. And it was it's West Ham, isn't it? We're a big family.
Exactly, and that's what's coming across, because obviously we're interviewing these different people, and there's so many sort of family connections and collectiveness, and obviously people talk about the last game at Upton Park and that feeling of togetherness, and I think what's happening, hopefully, is with all what's going on in the world, that first collective singing of bubbles, whenever that may be, when the London Stadium's open and everyone's back, will be such a special moment, because everyone's sort of back with the family, and it's really quite touching when you think about that. Anyway,
yeah.
It's brilliant, and I love. It's just so nice talking to someone, because it's so different. Because everyone I speak to is from, and even the guys I spoke to in America, they were sort of Essex, London boys who have moved out, where you are, you're sort of an adopted Cockney, if that makes sense, coming in from Norway. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it's lovely talking to you. So anyway, what we're doing, as I said, we're going to be doing our sort of Hammers 11. I know you've put a lot of thought into this. I know you've agonised over lots of these positions. As I said, we try and keep it to a 4-4-2 if we can. I'm a little better at video editing, so if you, I'm learning about inside halves and things like. I've never heard that. I don't know what. I still don't know what inside half is. I'll be honest. But it's your 11, so it's the people that you obviously want to talk about, and obviously the only caveat is you have to be alive to have seen them play. Not necessarily live, but obviously on TV and stuff. But obviously, I can't put in Bobby Moore, but I could put in Gary Breen, for example.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's not in my team, though.
Okay, seems a fair swap. But yeah. All right, so who are we going to put in goal for the Holt 11 then?
I just mention one thing first. When I'm not really put in probably the best 11. No? It might be as well, but I've put in 11 players that I've all interviewed for the Scandinavian Hammer Supporters Clubs magazine. And I've also a few players that I would love to have in there that I've interviewed, but they're out. So I'll probably mention a few more. But in goal, I've interviewed some really good players. I've sat on a stage on the Supporters Club trip with Phil Parks for about half an hour. Great guy. Shaka Hislop, great guy. Robert Green. But in goal for me, and probably the best gentleman that I met through the West Ham Times, that's Ludek Miklosko.
Yeah.
We had a supporters club trip. We had a meeting at Upton Park. We stayed at the Stadium Hotel. At the same time, there was a memorial for John Lyle. Alex Ferguson was there, and a few more people were there. But I had an agreement with Ludo that he should come and say hello to us. So he went from the official dinner, came up to see us. And we were about 60 people. He took time to shake everybody's hand and was with us for about 45 minutes. And he was the one saying thank you when he left. He's such a gentleman. So Ludo is probably Phil Parkes was as good a goalkeeper, but Ludo is top man.
Agreed. What a lovely gesture, as you said. He's a lovely man, very quietly spoken, but he's still a real sort of fans' favourite, especially when he comes back to London Stadium. We interview him. He's a lovely guy. Right, okay, we put Ludo between the sticks. Let's go for left back. Who we got at left back then?
Left back, there was really no competition. I've interviewed Frankie Lampard, I've interviewed George Parris, but it has to be Julian, who was a regular writer for our Supporters Club magazine. I phoned him up for about 2 years when after he finished, and I even met him at his local pub up at Great Notley. Julian is, for those who haven't met him, you've got a picture of him playing, but he is the nicest bloke you can meet and the most honest bloke you can meet. 2 or 3 years ago, me and my son went to Austria when West Ham played the game when Aaron Cresswell did his leg, and we were there, and we were quite a few West Ham supporters outside. Julian recognized me and came up and invited me and my son in. We're sitting with him and Slaven Bilic, and after the game, Slaven came up to us with Antonio's shirt for my son, who he has played with. So Julian is top man, really good guy.
Lovely, yeah, and as you said, and a great footballer as well. You know, everything for the club. Julian gave. Okay, right, we'll put Dixie on the left. Who's going to go on the right back position? Then
it should probably be in midfield, but because there's so many other good midfielders I want to play there, Bonzo is going at right back. He came to West Ham as the right back, but of course I've seen him most as centre back or central midfield. But he goes in at right back. Not strong competition, but I've also interviewed Timmy Breaker and Stevie Potts, who were good candidates. But Billy Bonds is the right back, top man.
Yeah, and words cannot describe what the man has meant for the club and done for the club as a player and obviously as a manager. And you know, even when he came back and they obviously announced renamed the stand in his honour, you could see how much he meant to the club and from the players and from the fans and how much he gave back and stuff. He's a top guy.
And also such a good gentleman. I won't speak that many about all the players because then we need 2 hours. But a couple of stories about Bonzo. When back in the days in the 90s, when he was manager, I was still single and I could do anything I wanted in my life. I went to London to stay for a week. I saw the games every Saturday, and in between I went to Chadwell Heath every day to watch trainings. Wow. Billy came up a few times and asked me in for tea. I was sitting with him, Paul Hilton, and drinking tea and talking football. After a while, we were sitting in there. I was about to leave, and then Billy said, "Where are you going?" And I go back to the hotel, and he said, "We're going to see a reserve team game." So I actually was in the car with Bonzo, Ronnie Boyce, who was the last one, Frank Burrows, and we went to Southend. I went with them three in Billy's car, a big BMW, to Southend to see a reserve team game. But Billy was, and he included me all the time. Such a really, really good man.
Yeah. That is some car trip, and it's I live around here, so I know how long. Yeah, it's probably a good 40 minutes, 45-minute drive without traffic from Chadwell Heath to Southend. So yeah.
Yeah, wow. And of course it was a reserve team game, probably 100 people there or something. So I was sat with them all the game as well, and it was now it's a really good memory.
Fantastic memory, love it. Okay, we'll put Bonzo on the right. Who are we going to have in the centre back positions?
There's a few candidates. 2 guys that have just been left out is that I remember interviewing him as a player and also when he was manager later. That's Slaven. I love Slaven, but he's just edged out at centre back. Also, the Danish guy Mark Rieper is just out of the team. Also a very good guy. Tony Gale, top man I've interviewed, but also he's left out because in my team, and there is no competition really. Rio, who always was top man, and Alvin Martin. Yeah. Rio and Alvin Martin is my 2 centre backs, and what a pairing those two would have been.
Too right, too right. And Alvin would have just let Rio just play, wouldn't he? Alvin would have done any sort of trouble. Him and Dixie would have been in, and Bonzo, and Rio they would just let to just do what he should have done more of. And unfortunately, I think, and it's been picked up a few times. You know, when he went to United, Ferguson sort of knocked out that sort of ball playing side of his game, and if he still had, he would have been. Yeah, people say he would have been in the same bracket as Beckenbauer and people like that in terms of that sort of ball-playing midfield. But yeah.
And also such a lovely man, Rio. He was injured, so he didn't train. We were at Tribal Heath once. And after that, I was talking to Rio. All the people left, and it was an under-14s game a couple of hours later. So I stood with Rio. He was on crutches, and of course in the under-14s game, Anton was playing. So it was also a very good memory.
Brilliant! Oh, I love it. I love hearing your stories, Gjermund. It's lovely. It's so nice. Okay, that's something. That's a solid back. You're not getting much change if you're a striker or a winger with that defense. Right, let's go for midfield. Let's go for left wing. Who would have on the left wing then?
On the left wing is I've put two left wingers. One have to be on the right side, right hand side. But on the left wing, there's a few candidates as well. Joe Cole, Sinclair, Lazaridis, top man, but it has to be Alan Dev. Devonshire has to go in left midfield. Great man, but also probably one of the most skillful players we've ever seen at West Ham. So Alan Devonshire, dead certain for left midfield.
Yeah, and probably one of our best transfers ever. Because for
20,000, wasn't it? 2,000 maybe.
No, it's five. It was 5,000. 5,000.
Southall.
Southall, yeah. What can you get in today's life for 5,000? And
he went straight into the team as well. Yeah,
exactly. And he used to. I heard stories about, because obviously I wasn't around when Dev was playing, so I know of the legend, but not the sort of him play. I can see obviously highlights, but the people were saying how he used to turn up for training. He'd be on the tube because he lived in sort of Ealing, having to get to Chadwell Heath with his boots in his hand, and you don't get that anymore now.
Actually, when we the supporters club was 25 years, we had a celebration dinner, and Tony Cottee has become nearly a friend over the time because he's done a lot of interviews for the supporters club magazine. So I asked Tony if he could invite Alan Devonshire to come along for that dinner, and a couple of hours later he said, yes, Alan will come, but he has to come with a driver because he hasn't got a license. He hasn't got a driving license. So Alan Dev was there with Tony Cottee for our dinner at the 25 years anniversary.
Oh, it's fantastic. Right. Okay, we'll put Dev on the left. Who's going to go on the other wing then? Who's the other left wing you're going to put on the right?
I mentioned a few candidates. Mark Ward would be an obvious candidate for the right wing, but one that edges and goes ahead of them is because such a nice guy he is, and that's Stuart Slater. He's also been with us on a supporters club trip for a couple of times, and the nicest guy. And what a player! He also left a bit too early. Should never have gone to Celtic. He would have been a West Ham legend. He's a West Ham legend, but he would have been an even big one. I know he's right-footed, but he loved to play on the left-hand side. But I put him on the right side because Alan, they could swap sides at half-time.
Yeah, and I think it's too much in the game of players playing on the wrong side of their feet, if that makes sense. Because it always seems that at the moment sort of that the trend is to put a left-sided player on the right because they can cut in and score a goal. But I think there's nothing better than a winger on their right side bombing it down the wing, beating the left back or right back, and just crossing it in. It's such a simple thing to do, but it doesn't happen anymore now. Everyone's too clever.
No.
Okay, so we put Slates on the right. Who's going to be in the middle then for the whole 11?
To be honest, I asked you just before we went live now you would have made it easier for me if I had to have seen them live, not seen them live on television. But when you said that if I've seen them play while I've been alive, then of course Trevor Brooking has to be one of them. My all-time favorite player, and one of the big reasons why I really continued to be a West Ham supporter. And also such a lovely man. So Trevor Brooking is the first one, probably in my team.
Yeah, first
met him a few times. A real gentleman.
Yes.
The other spot. If you said that Brooking, I had to see him live, then he would have been out. Then I would have had two others in. But I have to make my mind up now. Ian Bishop is such a great man. I even went to the pub with Bishop a couple of times when after trainings, and I never told the manager though. But he's a great candidate. I'll have to mention Jack Collison because he's been so nice later on. But of course, Jack will probably, if he will watch this, and he will understand that I won't put him in the team, but he will be a good candidate. What I have to choose is between Ian Bishop and Mark Noble. I think Mark Noble is such a West Ham legend, but because Bish is such I think Bish was underrated and such a nice man. So I'm sorry for Mark Noble. He will be my first sub who can play, but it's Bishop in the midfield with Trevor Brooking.
That's tasty. That's a tasty midfield. There's a lot of pace, a lot of skill, and I think if they were playing together, I think Bishop and Brooking would be a really nice pairing. Because obviously, different eras, but Bish was such a silky player. He was so. I mean, that was my era. Bishop was my era.
Yeah.
I have this him and John Moncur and people. That's my era. So yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think Bish was so underrated.
I just want to mention one other candidate who also came with a Scandinavian Hammer dinner, and also a very underrated player. That's Jeff Pike. He's a good candidate, but of course. Bishop Brooking is my choice,
Bishop Brooking. Okay, that's good. Okay, who are we going to have up front? Who's going up front for you?
That was, to be honest, easier. I've interviewed a few, but the two that goes up front is top man and top players. I mentioned Tony Cottee. He was one of my first favorite players, of course. And also I've interviewed him a few times. He's helped me to get other players to come to our Scandinavian Hammer dinners. Actually, even Tony came to Norway once to be on Norwegian television. So I met him at the airport. I stayed with him. We went for a few beers, and I was in the studio on Norwegian television with Tony. And and I'm proud to say that I can call Tony a good friend of mine. Yeah. So he'll be in there for sure. The other one is that's probably the funniest interview I've ever did with a West Ham player. That was in 2000. After he scored the most famous goals ever. That's Paolo Di Canio, of course. A couple, probably, don't arrest me on the dates, but a few weeks later, it was the Hammer of the Year award at the old social club.
Yeah.
As I said, I've been at the training ground all week, so Paolo knew me. I said hello, and I saw him in the morning and things like that. I went to the social club, and he got the Hammer of the Year award, and he signed autographs and players with 300 guests or how many was there. I waited because I said I've seen him a few times, and I wanted to do an interview with him.
Yeah.
So I went last one up to Paolo and said, Paolo, I won't take your time now, but will you have a couple of minutes for me at the training ground tomorrow morning? And he just said no. And he went 10 meters and came back. I probably have at least 10 minutes for you. And he was a man to his word. When the day after, there was a few best people there. I think they were talking about the Euros that were coming up or something like that. So he actually had appointments with Daily Mail and even Sky Sports. But he stood to his word and came up to me first. I interviewed him with my little recorder, and when that's gone 15 minutes, you have to turn the old tape around. And I did that, and it went to the end. So I interviewed for about half an hour when Sky Sports were waiting. Shaka Hislop threw balls at us, and the people were trying to, but he was as serious with me and as with everybody else. I remember, and this is the best quote ever, and the guys around him were laughing because they started to listen. I said, Paolo, the goal you scored, was that the best goal you ever scored? And he said, I'll be honest on the Italian. He said, it's not the best goal. It's not only the best goal I've scored. It's probably the best goal I have ever seen. And it's really good. I think it was 4 pages in one of the Scandinavian Hammers magazines. Really
fantastic.
Good. So Paolo is in my team, has to be in there.
Yeah. And also, the fact is, I know you were agonising about whether to put Mark Noble in, but, obviously Paolo, anywhere north of Watford, he any away game, Mark would be in because obviously Paolo wouldn't be around in the away game. So
yeah. And then we can move Trevor Brooking up up front or whatever, play 4-5-1. So it's good to have a sub there. And Mark Noble is my first one on the bench.
Oh, it's been it's fantastic. So we've got Ludo in goal, Julian left back, Alvin and Rio in the centres, Bonzo on the right back position. Then we got Dev on the left, Bish and Brooken in the middle, Slater on the right, Cotti and Paolo up front. Nice team, yeah.
What a team! Yeah, and I'm really proud to have interviewed all these guys, and it's been and what a team! Think about putting them in the prime together, we would have won the league with forget Liverpool.
Exactly. But honestly, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. It's been lovely hearing all those stories and those sort of anecdotal stories. Obviously, everyone sees everything on the telly and newspapers and on YouTube and Match of the Day, but it's the stories that you brought to the episode, which I think everyone will really, really enjoy, because it's been lovely, really lovely talking to you. And obviously, thank you to everyone else for watching. Obviously, like, share, subscribe, you know what to do. And until next time, guys, take care and stay safe. Bye-bye.